So, Mike, how are you?
A1.
A1. So we've got this chunk of Matthew 21
Yeah, 21, 33 to the
to
end.
the end, to 46. And it's the parable of the vineyard, or the parable of the wicked tenants, depending upon which name you give it. What are your thoughts?
So, Vineyard normally stands for Israel, and the landowner normally stands for God, and tenants normally stand for the religious and legal professionals of Israel. So, I'm going to start with that traditional way of looking at it. And if you look at it in that way, what have we got here?
Sounds like you're going to veer off the traditional eventually, are you?
Let's think about that.
Okay.
So, what happens here? A landowner plants a vineyard, puts a fence around it, hedges it, digs a wine press, a watchtower.
The wine presses are extraordinary, aren't they?
Yeah.
Deep, sort of cavernous spaces where you press put the grapes in the top, and then press them down below.
Absolutely. So in that opening salvo, Jesus, I think, has given us 6 verbs associated with the landowner dealing with the vineyard, suggestive to me of the care of God for his people Israel and the provision thereof. Goes away to a far country and leaves it in the charge of tenants. And then when the time comes for the fruits to be harvested, sends somebody to collect them, and the tenants, who by this stage think that they own the place, reject and kill the person who comes, which obviously stands for the prophets. Yeah, and again, Jesus, I think, illustrates the love of God and the patient love of God by sending not just one, but another one as well. So, and there's continued rejection. Now, here's where it begins to get a bit fantastical, because you would think if you've sent 2, you wouldn't send your beloved son, who you could ill afford to lose. But he does. Has the landlord learnt nothing from this? And the tenants, equally fantastically, think to themselves, look, here comes the son. If we kill him, we'll inherit the...
Completely logically, you think they can inherit?
Yeah, well, but why can they? Because it's the landowner who they know is alive, if you look at verse 40, and who's on their case. I mean, maybe they think deludedly they've got squatters' rights or something. I don't know. But let's take him and kill him. And what is that an echo of? Joseph, to my mind, and the brothers, killing Joseph. So, and while it is quite fantastical, well, the genius of Jesus shows itself in that he manages to get them to put into their mouths exactly the critique he would make of them, which is, what do you think the landowner will do with those tenants when he comes? Well, he'll deal with them, kill them, and give the vineyard to those who are worthy of it. QED, says Jesus. And then probably one of the most important verses in Matthew's Gospel. In the same way, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to those producing the fruits of the kingdom. Yeah? Now, some people regard that as taken away from Israel and giving to the Gentiles, which I don't think is right. I think he's talking here about what will be the church. And if it is the church given to a people producing the fruits of it, then you already see here an agenda, a terms of reference for the church, which is producing the fruits of the kingdom.
So who's it taken away from then?
The kingdom of God will be taken away from you, the tenants, who are the Judean authorities leading the people astray from actually inhabiting and embodying the kingdom of God. Yeah? And given to a people producing the fruits of the kingdom. So, and that fits with this idea of the gospel of the kingdoms, doesn't it? That actually, when Jesus appears saying the times are fulfilled, the kingdom of God is at hand, the challenge is to live out of that kingdom, to point to it and to teach about it, which is precisely what he does. And of course, he is the king thereof. So there's something here for me about the nature of the gospel of the kingdom in that concluding point. But some of the parable, as I say, I struggle with because it seems a little bit fantastical in terms of the conversation that's going on and the assumptions of the tenants. That is as far as I've got with it. What do you think?
So I haven't got much further, except that there is this, I think, quite important dimension of the way in which this parable, and particularly the verse that you've cited about the cornerstone being rejected.
Oh no, I didn't mention that, but good point. I didn't mention that, did I?
You didn't mention that?
No, Psalm 118.
Why did I have in my head that you'd mentioned that?
I've no idea. That comes before the kingdom.
I was anticipating it.
You were,
and so much that I thought I heard you say it.
Yeah, no. So Jesus says in the same way. What does he say? What's that quote from Psalm 18? The stone which the builders have rejected has become the chief cornerstone.
So the problem is that then gets used as basically a sort of anti-Semitic reading of this text, and it becomes one of the key texts in a successionist understanding of Christianity, the covenant replacing the old covenant,
taken away from Israel, given to the Gentiles.
And you get, I think you get there particularly if you identify the tenants as the people of Israel, rather than what you did, which is the vineyards, the people, and the tenants are the chief priests and the scribes and the Pharisees, and that has been appallingly misused. And I was astonished to read. So I look at Ulrich Lutz's commentary, and he is absolutely adamant is that is the interpretation. It is the people who have been rejected. Now,
really,
I simply don't read that
because probably Luther. He's got that off. He's a Lutheran, isn't he?
Yeah. So because at the end of the text, Jesus is clearly saying, this is, or the text says that the chief priests and the Pharisees saw that this was about them. So I would have thought it was pretty obvious, but then the question that I end up with is, we can easily sort of locate this in the past, as it were, but the question I end up with is, this is about faithful leadership. It's about God's unbreakable faithfulness and love for his people. And it's the responsibility of those who are in leadership of the faithful community to ensure that they are not usurping their role, that they are not claiming more for themselves than is due, that they are not behaving like those tenants. And I find myself thinking, okay, I need to pay attention to see, how am I doing that myself? What are the ways in which I could be quite dangerously become like a tenant, a wicked tenant, entrusted with, as we are in our responsibilities, entrusted with the care of the people of God, and the ways in which we abuse that with which we have been entrusted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think of Sebastian Moore as you speak, the monk and writer. And he says that so often, if we stop and really think about it, we realise that life's crucifixion of us is really our crucifixion of life. And that, when the Son comes and the Messiah comes, we are in danger of crucifying the one who actually brings life to us, because it is not brought to us in the particular way in which we have moulded ourselves to want it. So yeah, I'd say which is another way of putting exactly what you're saying. what is it to be hospitable to a Messiah that does not come to fulfill our immediate requirements or needs or wants, but nevertheless is the true Messiah. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just struck that you, I've not heard you reference Sebastian Moore before. And he, when I was a young curate, and probably for some years after, it was his writings that helped me through all the kind of turmoil, internal and external turmoil. The Crucified God is no stranger.
Yeah.
And then successive books. So it's good to be reminded of him.
Yeah, no, some brilliant stuff. Yeah.